The dawn sky was a pale wash of gray as Jack Turner stepped onto the tarmac of the Republic Aviation factory. The morning chill bit through his flight jacket, but his eyes were locked on the hulking silhouette of the new fighter. The P-47 Thunderbolt sat like a colossus, its broad wings spanning the length of a hangar bay, its bulky fuselage dwarfing every other plane on the field. Jack felt a knot of doubt tighten in his stomach. He had flown many fighters before, from nimble P-40 Warhawks to slick Spitfires. But this was something else entirely. "The beast," he muttered under his breath. Tom, his wingman and closest friend, clapped him on the shoulder. "She's ugly, no doubt. But don't underestimate her." Jack nodded, remembering the words of Chief Engineer Harris. "She's not built for finesse, son. She's built for power. For endurance. For survival." As Jack climbed into the cockpit for his first test flight, the mechanics hustled around the plane, checking every bolt and wire. The massive Pratt & Whitney R-2800 double Wasp engine thundered to life, shaking the ground beneath his feet. Inside the cramped cockpit, Jack adjusted his goggles and took a deep breath. The controls felt heavy in his hands. The plane roared down the runway, shaking with raw power. As the wheels lifted off, Jack felt the weight of the giant plane fighting the sky. The climb was slow, the controls stiff and reluctant to respond. "Feels like flying a battleship," he thought, gripping the yoke tightly as he fought to keep the plane steady. The landing was rough, a harsh jolt that nearly threw him against the canopy. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Jack climbed out, muscles aching, heart pounding. "She's a beast all right," he said softly. "But can she be a fighter?" The weeks that followed tested Jack's patience and skill. Each day brought new challenges. The Thunderbolt's massive size and weight meant it guzzled fuel at an alarming rate, limiting range and forcing careful mission planning. Its sluggish climb rate was a constant frustration. Jack trained relentlessly, pushing the plane through dives, steep turns, and simulated combat maneuvers. The controls were unforgiving, every input demanding strength and precision. But then there was the armor. Thick steel plating shielded the cockpit and vital systems. Jack flew through simulated flak bursts, tracer rounds slicing the air, splintering wing edges and punching through panels. The plane shuddered but stayed airborne. One day, after a particularly brutal test, Jack sat with Harris, the chief engineer. "This plane is a tank in the sky," Jack admitted. "Slow, but it can take hits that would down anything else." Harris smiled. "That's why she'll save lives. You'll see, dogfights aren't just about speed. Endurance and firepower count for a lot." But doubts remained among the brass. Faster, more agile fighters dominated air combat in Europe. Some called the Thunderbolt obsolete before it even flew combat missions. Jack's squadron pushed back, confident that the Thunderbolt's raw power and resilience would prove essential. England, 1943. The airbase was alive with tension and preparation. Jack and his squadron were assigned to escort bombers over enemy territory, a task fraught with danger. The sky was cold and gray as the Thunderbolts climbed to meet their targets. Enemy fighters were waiting. The Luftwaffe's Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf Fw-190 struck like shadows, swift, lethal, and unrelenting. Jack's heart hammered as he spotted the first enemy plane. The Thunderbolt lumbered in pursuit, slower to respond but packing a devastating punch. Diving from above, Jack unleashed a storm of .50 caliber bullets. The enemy plane erupted in flames. But the battle was far from over. German fighters swarmed, exploiting the Thunderbolt's slower turns. Jack twisted and turned, fighting the controls and the enemy alike. His plane took hits, sparks flying, alarms blaring. Despite the danger, he found strength in the Thunderbolt's armor and firepower. He could take hits and keep fighting. By the time the mission ended, Jack's plane was scarred but flying. Back on the ground, he wiped soot from his face and thought, "This beast isn't just a flying brick. She's a guardian." War wasn't just about machines, it was about the people who flew them. As Jack settled into life on the airbase in England, the Thunderbolt became more than just a plane, it became a symbol that bound the squadron together. The base buzzed with a mix of tension, fatigue, and quiet determination. Pilots moved like shadows between hangars and briefing rooms, mechanics labored tirelessly under freezing winds, and the smell of oil, smoke, and damp earth clung to everything. Jack's closest friends in the squadron were Tom, his steadfast wingman, Maria, the brilliant and tough lead mechanic, and Sergeant Miller, the sharp-tongued radio operator who never missed a call or a chance for a joke. One cold evening, the squadron gathered in the mess hall. A flickering lantern cast dancing shadows on the walls as the men exchanged stories from the day's mission. Maria passed around a bottle of whiskey, her hands grease-stained but steady. To the Thunderbolt, she toasted, her voice strong but soft with pride. "The beast nobody wanted, but the one we trust with our lives." Tom grinned, lifting his glass. "I still can't believe the brass almost scrapped this thing. Now, we wouldn't fly anything else." Jack smiled, feeling the weight of the past months, the losses, the victories, and the unbreakable bonds forged in fire. "Flying this plane," Jack said quietly, "is like wrestling a wild animal. You don't fight it, you learn it. Respect its strength, its limits. And in return, it carries you home." Their laughter echoed into the night, a fragile shield against the horrors waiting in the skies. Spring of 1944 had brought new orders. Jack's squadron was no longer just escorting bombers high above the clouds. Now, they were tasked with close air support, diving low over enemy lines to destroy tanks, artillery, and supply convoys. The Thunderbolt's ruggedness was put to the test. Jack remembered his first low-level mission vividly, the earth rushing toward him as he strafed enemy columns. The thunderous roar of his engines mingled with explosions and the screams of burning steel. The ground shook beneath the strafing runs. Trucks erupted in fireballs, tanks were sent tumbling through fields. But flying low was deadly. Anti-aircraft fire zipped through the air, and the slightest mistake could mean death. Jack felt his heart race, muscles tense with each run. He saw the terror in the eyes of soldiers below, and the hope the Thunderbolts brought with every strike. After one particularly brutal mission, the squadron landed back at base, planes pocked with bullet holes and smoke-stained. Tom clapped Jack on the back. "We're making a difference down there, partner. They call it the roar of doom, you know. When they hear us, they know trouble's coming." Jack nodded, exhaustion mixing with pride. "We're not just fighters anymore. We're the hammer striking the anvil." The war was an unyielding storm, and Jack found himself caught in its relentless fury more times than he could count. Each mission chipped away at his strength and tested his resolve, but the Thunderbolt never failed to carry him through. One mission etched itself painfully into his memory. It was a cold, gray morning. The sky hung low with thick clouds, the kind that muffled sound and blurred the horizon. Jack's squadron was tasked with intercepting a German formation moving toward an Allied supply convoy. As the Thunderbolts climbed, the tension in the cockpit was suffocating. Jack's fingers tightened around the throttle, his eyes scanned the skies for any sign of enemy fighters. Suddenly, tracer fire zipped past. Enemy aircraft swarmed like predatory wolves, their sleek forms cutting through the mist. Jack dove into the fray, guns blazing. The rumble of his engines was drowned out by the roar of battle and the shriek of shells. Then came the worst, a sharp jolt, a violent shudder as an enemy round pierced the engine cowling. Smoke poured into the cockpit. Flames licked hungrily at the fuselage. Jack fought the burning beast with every ounce of skill and willpower. The controls stiffened, alarms screamed. His wingman's voice crackled over the radio, "Jack, you're hit. Get out of there." But Jack was determined. He pushed the damaged plane toward safety, weaving through clouds of flak and enemy fighters. Every second felt like an eternity. The burning metal groaned beneath him, threatening to give way. With sheer grit, he crash-landed in a muddy field. The impact jarred him violently, but he stumbled out alive, coughing smoke, heart pounding. That day, Jack understood the true spirit of the Thunderbolt, unyielding, tough, a guardian forged in steel and fire. Spring 1944 had come with a new intensity. The Allies were preparing for D-Day, and every air mission carried the weight of history. Jack's squadron was ordered to strike deep into enemy territory, to cripple vital fuel depots fueling the German war machine. The day was overcast, the sky a steely gray that mirrored the grim determination in Jack's heart. As the Thunderbolts climbed, the air grew thick with anticipation and dread. Enemy fighters waited, their formations tight and disciplined. The battle erupted suddenly, tracer rounds blazing, engine screaming, the sky torn apart by fire and fury. Jack led the attack, his plane weaving and diving through the chaos. He fired salvo after salvo, igniting the fuel depot below. Flames roared skyward, a fiery beacon of destruction. But the enemy fought fiercely. Jack's Thunderbolt took hits, sparks flew, the controls stiffened, but he pressed on, refusing to fall. When the mission ended, exhaustion weighed heavily on the pilots. Jack looked at his battered plane, pride swelling in his chest. "This fight isn't over," he whispered. "But today, we struck a blow." The war was winning in numbers, but the spirit of those who fought clung stubbornly to life like the last embers of a dying fire. Jack's squadron had become a brotherhood forged in steel, fire, and blood. They faced the sky together, but not all returned. Maria, their steadfast mechanic with hands that could coax life from a dying engine, was gone, a casualty of a bombing raid while repairing planes on the ground. Tom, Jack's closest friend and wingman, had vanished during a raid over the Ruhr Valley. His last radio transmission was a simple, steady call, "Keep pushing forward." The losses hollowed the squadron, but also steeled their resolve. One evening, Jack stood alone beside the wreckage of a Thunderbolt lost to flak. The broken metal gleamed in the fading light like a shattered dream. He knelt, running fingers over the cold steel. "You saved us more times than I can count," he whispered. "More than any machine should." The faces of fallen comrades haunted his thoughts, their laughter, their courage, the bonds that made them more than just pilots. Jack realized then that the Thunderbolt was more than armor and guns. It was a symbol of endurance, of fighting on when hope seemed lost. By late 1944, the war had turned. The Allies were pushing hard into Germany, and every mission became a desperate struggle. Jack's Thunderbolt squadron was tasked with close air support during the brutal Battle of the Bulge. The skies were a frozen wasteland of swirling snow and low clouds. Visibility was poor, and the threat of ambush loomed. Flying low, strafing enemy positions, Jack felt the weight of exhaustion settle deep in his bones. Anti-aircraft fire was relentless. The earth below was scarred and burned, trenches filled with desperate men clinging to hope. During one mission, Jack's plane was hit badly. The engine coughed, smoke filling the cockpit, and control surfaces began to fail. With skill born of countless hours in the cockpit, he managed a crash landing behind friendly lines. Emerging from the wreckage, battered but alive, Jack felt the bitter truth of war. Victory came at a terrible price. Yet, even as he walked away from the burning plane, he knew the Thunderbolt's roar would echo on, a testament to strength and spirit. The war was over, but its echoes thundered in Jack's mind like the roar of his beloved Thunderbolt. He returned home to a world forever changed, carrying scars both visible and unseen. Walking through a quiet airfield now converted to peacetime use, Jack traced his fingers along the sleek fuselage of a restored P-47 on display. It gleamed under the sun, a symbol of sacrifice and strength. He often found himself revisiting memories, missions flown in bitter cold, the adrenaline of dogfights, the faces of friends lost to the war. At reunions, he shared stories with younger pilots and enthusiasts. This plane wasn't the fastest or prettiest, he'd say, but it was a beast built to endure. Sometimes, that's what matters most. Jack honored the fallen by telling their tales, Tom's daring maneuvers, Maria's tireless dedication, Sergeant Miller's sharp wit. The Thunderbolt was more than metal and guns. It was a legacy, a testament to resilience, courage, and brotherhood. As Jack looked up at the endless sky, he felt a quiet peace. The roar may fade, he whispered, but the spirit never will. Years after the guns fell silent, Jack found new battles to fight, not in the skies, but within himself. The war had changed him. Nights were haunted by flashes of combat, friends lost, and the heavy weight of survival guilt. Yet, the Thunderbolt's spirit stayed with him. He began mentoring young pilots, teaching not just flying skills, but lessons in courage, endurance, and heart. Jack also became an advocate for veterans, speaking out about the cost of war and the strength needed to rebuild lives. One autumn afternoon, standing beside a group of eager cadets, Jack smiled. Flying, he told them, is more than mastering machines. It's about trusting yourself and those beside you. It's about fighting even when the odds seem impossible. The Thunderbolt had shaped him, and through him, its legacy would soar on.